there has been a sea change in immigration over the last 2 years. I think we all know it, and I think it's really due to three reasons. The first is obviously there's been a change in the administration and in an ideological perspective about immigration, which has resulted in untold litigation, contentious issues about regulations, and it all stems from a different view. I think the previous administration, in my view, was trying to literally crash the system to get people to self-deport, to leave the country. This administration is a more welcoming administration, and they're trying to undo a lot of the harm that was done previously. The second change, obviously, was COVID. I mean, COVID has changed our lives in every way, certainly changed our lives in how we deal with clients. How we even teach immigration law. I teach online. How we interact with getting information from the government. How we deal with political figures, and how COVID has slowed everything down with respect to the embassies abroad and the closures and so forth. And then I think the third major change in the last 2 years that does affect immigration directly is the issue of the rule of law. Unfortunately, I think we are beginning to unravel what is the centerpiece of American democracy, which is the rule of law. We now have a shadow docket in the Supreme Court where they've made over 38 decisions without actually having full briefing. The latest was last week, to the extent that even Chief Justice Roberts joined the dissent. So I think that's troubling. I think it's troubling that we're doing so much forum shopping under the previous administration. When people sued, they went to the Ninth Circuit or they went to the Second Circuit. Now, everything is being brought in the Fifth Circuit. The Fifth Circuit, in many respects, appears to be an outlier a circuit in the United States. So I think we're unfortunately seeing a lot of unnecessary litigation, and litigation that really appears, I think, to the American people to be political, and for that reason undermining the rule of law. So I think if you think of those three things together, we have a very different view of immigration and law in generally from 2020 to when the 18th edition comes out in 2022. There have been a number of major updates. The EB-5 Reform and Integrity Act, premium processing, changes to expedited removal, reversal of certain COVID policies, special immigrant juvenile regulations. I mean, there's really something for everyone who's interested in immigration law. Freedom of Information Act, new guidelines, obviously the rescission of a number of the proclamations, the Muslim ban and so forth. But on the business side, there are changes in STEM-related policies, changes with respect to H4s and Ls and Es. On the refugee side, we have changes in treatment of Afghan refugees and now Ukrainian refugees. We have more TPS, more groups are getting TPS than I think we've ever had before. We have new decisions, even individual decisions, for example, that I think have important impact, like Quintero in the Fourth Circuit, that says a judge must now fully develop the record in an immigration proceeding. We have obviously the reversal of a number of decisions of the previous administration. Matter of Castro-Tum was reversed. We talk about that in the book. PSGs for families, and termination of detention facility agreements, waivers for conditional permanent resident interviews. And the one thing, of course, that's the most striking of all are just the sheer volume of new cases. You know, this is the 18th edition. I've been doing it for 30 years. Even though I'm 40, I was a child genius. But I have never seen the volume of cases that we've seen now. And part of it is just the contentious nature on both sides on immigration. But even more importantly, many, many more people have decided to file petitions for review. They've decided to file district court cases. Those district court cases go to the Court of Appeals. I would not be surprised if there were more than 750 to 1,000 new cases that are in this book by the time it goes to print. So I'm expecting this book to be much more impactful, I think, than we've seen before. And one other thing that I'm particularly interested in is the developing body of law on suits for damages against detention facilities. And I'm going to try and at least have a section on that where people can be at least aware that we can start suing some of these detention facilities for conditions of confinement, for not paying people the wage while they're detained and so forth. You know, the difficulty is just simply sitting down and reading everything. Read all the regulations, read every case that comes out that's a published opinion, both in the district court and the Court of Appeals, and obviously in the Supreme Court. Try to digest those in the book. Once I complete the book, we try to give it out to experts in each particular field to try and give me even more comments about it, and I incorporate those comments. Thanks to the people who have worked on this book for many, many years, and the editors of the book, Randy Auerbach, and the staff at the Pubs Department in AILA. Hopefully we'll have a finalized book, but I can tell you that it involves thousands of hours of work over the 2-year period. If you're alive and you practice immigration law, you would benefit from it. I mean, obviously, all the immigration judges have gotten the book for many, many years. And of course, people in the Department of Homeland Security, people in the Department of Justice, members of Congress have their staff who often have the book. I really think it's a good resource for people who really want to know the kind of nitty-gritty details. I mean, it's not a policy book. It's a book for people who want to practice and want to understand the intricacies of immigration. And I think we're fortunate that it's had a very, very wide circulation over the years. So we're going to see a lot of changes this year, I think much more so than any other edition. Hopefully it'll be helpful to everyone who's going to buy the book.